Okay, let's do this. So, about 2 months ago, I finished working on this guy. This is, hey, there's my face. This is my smart-ish pocket watch. I think more accurately it could be called a digital pocket watch. It's just the screen is a actual display rather than a clock display. Yeah, thanks, brain. Anyway, so it's quite a chunky thing, quite bulky. I really like it, USB-C powered, and I just want to talk about how I got to this point. So my job means it's not exactly professional to have your phone out in the workplace, but I needed something to fiddle with because that's in my nature, and I need something to check the time because about half of the clocks where I work are non-functional or incorrect, just because that's how things are. So I want something like a smartwatch, but I didn't really want to go out and buy a new smartwatch, and I didn't like my old smartwatch. So I was like, well, I'm already working on like a Pip-Boy, so could I work on something smaller that would actually be functional day to day, have a sort of wristwatch style strap out of like TPU or something? And then while going through different YouTube videos and like a lot of Pinterest, there we go, I stumble onto, I don't know why I bought Pinterest. Pinterest is where I get a lot of my like general ideas from, of just going, oh, that could be an interesting design choice. I found someone who made a cyberpunk smart pocket watch, and I really liked it. So I looked at what they made. I was like, I'm going to copy the electronics and the code because I think they put the code up online, and I'm just going to redesign the housing to what I want just because I like doing CAD work. It's very like zen for me. And turns out couldn't get hold of, I think, any of the electronic components he used because they just weren't available in the UK. I think some of them were, but getting them was prohibitively expensive, as in the budget for it would have gone, I think, into like about 100 quid, and that I wasn't really willing to do. So I had to find the electronics I wanted, design them from scratch, and then get it working, and then design everything from scratch there. So I decided that was too difficult, so I was just going to take the smartwatch I already had and put it inside of a plastic housing, which is what this is. Can you see that? This is the front little hole there for the smartwatch's button. And Bob's your uncle, put it in there, bam, I've got a smart pocket watch. Turns out, terrible idea. It was too thick, putting a housing over the top of it wasn't really a way to make it work. Tried pulling it apart, broke it more. The battery in it was already dead, so I knew I'd have to replace that anyway. Couldn't get it properly open, so that goes out of the window. So I find the parts online, the electronics components I need to use, which is going to be a battery and a display with an inbuilt RP2040, and I build this thing which fits those parts. And it's quite small, a little bit chunky, and I quite like this design. A little bit too small, weirdly. I don't think it's actually that much smaller than the final version. Just as a sort of general... It's a little bit smaller, but not a ton smaller. But it doesn't feel particularly great in the hand. And I'm like, well, I could make this thinner. So I come up with this design, which is going to have the battery over in here. The display goes in here. And then if I need to fit anything else in, I can maybe put something in there, or find a really thin battery, put it in there, and put the electronics in there. And I quite like this design, except it doesn't really fit the pocket watch idea. This is going more into bad smartphone territory. So that idea goes out the window, back to being more of a... I keep saying circle when I do this. I know the interior is a circle, but when I say circle, what I mean is all sides being... Essentially, if you fit this into a circle with the straight lines on the outside, this fills as much of the shape as you can with... Look, I just... Shush. So, I start to quite like this design. This one is good. Bites way too heavily into my palm. Doesn't feel good to hold. So, that one gets scrapped. However, I say scrapped, as in just didn't get used. But it does very rapidly turn into this guy, which is... brings in the corners a lot more, adds in indents for bumpers along the outside, which aren't on it anymore because I just ripped them off and used them on this one because they are the exact same, because the bumpers didn't actually get changed from this design to this one. This one just got thicker along the edges, and then the front and back plates got thicker. And yeah, that is how my smart pocket watch got made. It wound up like this, and it's printed in bright orange because I just liked that aesthetic of just looking a bit like a flat tangerine. I've got to say something. So, there's two reasons I'm not showing you the actual display being turned on. One, I think the battery's disconnected itself again because my soldering job was not good. Two, the actual display isn't that interesting. It's just an analog clock that turns around on the minute hand. The hour hand used to move, but at some point I damaged the code and now I can't work out when I had functioning code that made the hour hand work. Or maybe it never worked and I just didn't notice because it was so slow. But the code for it is just horribly bodged together because I tried writing it from scratch and it just did not work. So I found functioning code for it online, like the test scripts, ripped everything out that I didn't think was necessary, put a bunch of stuff in there I thought would make it work as a clock, and that kind of got it to the point of functioning, but not in any way that I was actually happy with. So eventually I just went, meh. So I used this as like my way of telling the time for about a week. When the hour hand was still working. But yeah, coding is not my strong suit. I don't enjoy coding at all. Like, I genuinely get no satisfaction out of coding, which is really annoying. It's one of those things where I can really say I really wish I enjoyed coding. I enjoy a lot of the things related to coding, and my brain keeps going, oh yeah, we'll probably enjoy coding. We like doing maths, we like solving problems. It's like, no, we so coding is always one of those things where I'm like, if I can avoid it, I will. The electronics, I made one significant error, which was I read accurate clock as being accurate real-time clock for the display with the built-in RP2040, and I thought accurate clock meant the same thing as accurate real-time clock, so I didn't at any point for most of the design of this intend to put a RTC board in there, real-time clock board in there, and then it turned out I had to, because otherwise over the course of about an hour it would only register as 50 minutes. And And I tried really hard to just sort of keep bumping things around so that it would keep track of the time. But the closest I managed to get was about 25-ish minutes out over the course of 24 hours. And that seemed to be... that wasn't consistent, because it would go sort of 25 minutes, 40 minutes out the next day, 30 minutes the day after. I don't know why it was doing that. I don't know enough about electronics or coding to know for sure. But a real-time clock unit just had to be added in, which is why it got quite a bit thicker. Originally, this was meant to be like about a millimeter protrusion on the back plate and then a millimeter protrusion on the front plate. And now they're like a 5mm protrusion on either side.